Hello everyone, welcome to Zaref Game Dev. In this video, we are going to spawn our objects into the scene. So, which are our cells, which we created as a prefab. But for now, it doesn't have any conditions of how they are going to be spawned. So, inside our main manager, in the last video, we created an spawn image function. So let's see how we are going to spawn our objects. So let's go inside our game manager, and inside our spawn level function, first we need to get the current stage plus the level, which is the current level, its need details. So we'll get it from the player prefs, and where we have stored our current stage and the current level. So let's start creating it. So for the integer current stage is going to be player prefs dot getInt, and we are going to get the constants dot data dot current stage. And after getting our stage, let's create our stage name, which is the current stage name, and it's going to be constants dot data dot current stage plus underscore plus current stage dot toString. So after we have our current stage name, similarly we'll get our current level, and this is going to be similar, player prefs dot getInt and constants dot data dot current level and string current level name is going to be current stage name plus underscore the current level dot toString. Now we have our current level name, so we can get that current level object from our levels dictionary and level dictionary, and we'll do get level, and for the value we are going to pass our current level name. So it will return an object for our current level, and afterwards we'll set our win color to be the current level object dot win color, so we can also get the color. Now first we'll spawn all of the cells, so spawn all cells. So we are going to spawn I less than current level object dot row, and for j less than current level object dot column. So it's going to spawn all our objects. So where we are going to spawn, so we'll create a spawn pose first, and inside our spawn pose we'll pass I point 0.5 f and j plus 0.5 f. So we are moving it by 0.5 f. So if we directly instantiate it at the 0th position or whatever the index is, it will not be inside that 0 till 1. The half part will be left of 0 and the bottom of 0. We need to have its left corner exactly at 0. So we are moving it upwards and right by 0.5 f. And then we'll instantiate the cell, and it's going to be cell temp is going to be instantiate, which is going to be our cell prefab at our spawn position, and the value quaternion dot identity, and inside our cells dictionary uh, for the spawn pose we need to create an integer. So let's create an integer for our spawn pose, so new, and here we'll pass I comma j. So if for the 0th index, it's going to be instantiated at 0.5, 0.5. So the square is going to occupy the whole area from 0 to 1, and its index is going to be this ij. So at the 0th position and the 0th column, this is our cell, x position and the y position. Now after that, what we are going to do is we'll spawn our colored cells. So in our colored cells, we have the cells data, which is going to be for each, and for each item in our current level object dot cells data will update its cell data. So cell dictionary for our item dot grid pose and dot, and will initialize the cell, and let's just call it initialize cell, and for the value we are going to pass the item, which is our cell data. So let's pass the item, and we have not created this function now, but we'll create this afterwards, and after that we'll set up our camera. So it's just going to check the size, so let's just use float size is equals to 0f, and then we'll check if current level object dot column is less than equal to current level object dot row. So that means the number of cells in our column is less than the row, then our size is going to be current level object dot column, and not the column, the row. So the column is less, that means our row is higher, so we'll select the size by row, divide by 2 plus 2.5, else our size is going to be current level object, so the column is higher, so we'll use the column size, and for the column we need a little more gap in the top and the bottom, so we'll use 3.5f. So the column has the number of rows, so just take it as the column is the y position and the row is the x position. So if our x position is higher, so we'll use the size to include the x size, and after that we'll change our title color. So we need to get the color for the title, so let's create a enum game state game functions, and let's create a few helper functions first. We can directly use colors of index. Did we create the colors? Yeah, we already have the colors, and there's no need to make it private. Directly set to public, so everything can access it. And where's our change the title color, which is going to be our title image dot color is going to be colors for our win color, and we need to set the initialize cell for the item, and inside our cell we currently don't have anything, so let's delete everything. So our cell is going to hold data for our cell, which we have created as a cell data function. So let's first create public cell data, and after that, do we need? I don't think we'll need. Let's create a serialized field for private game object, and the game object is going to be our first and our second. And after that, we'll serialize field for the private list of showing our circles, which are again going to be game object. And we will also need the reference to both of the square scripts. So private square, and we'll call it front square, and the back square. So it's just going to have a reference to whatever is at the front and whatever is at the back. And for the starting position, the first is going to be at the front, but whenever we click or it needs to change the color, it will pick the second object. I mean, second means another object. If the second is at front, it will pick the first, then put it at front, and it will start the animation. So let's go inside awake and we'll set the current cell data to be new, and inside our new we will pass uh first the row. And how does the initialize it? Doesn't matter, we'll directly set it up. So we'll use cell data dot color is equals to -1, cell data dot moves is equals to 0, and cell data dot grid position is equals to our current position, which is going to be our vector to int, and we'll return it from our cell. So it's going to be v to int current pause, and it's going to be an arrow function, so it's just going to return a new with an integer of transform dot position dot x comma cast it to an integer transform dot position dot y. So it's going to be our current pause. So whenever our object is instantiated, it's going to set its position. And we also need our first dot set active to false, second dot set active to false, and we also need to get the references for our first and the back square. So front square dot first square is going to be not front square is going to be first dot get component, and we'll get the square component. And similarly, back square is going to be second dot get component, and we'll get our square component. And after that, we will hide all of our objects inside our circles. So circles dot count will set circles of I dot set active to false. So it's just going to show a default gray cell, and after that we'll create a function to initialize the cells, so which is going to be public void initialize cell, and here we'll pass a cell data, and let's just call it data. And what we are going to do is we'll just set our cell data to be our data, so it will directly overwrite it. And after that, first we'll front square dot game object dot set active to true. So whatever is at the front, we are going to set it to active, and front square dot initialize square. So similarly, we created an initialize function. we are going to initialize our front square, and we'll need to pass the color, which is going to be our current data dot color or the cell data dot color. And after initializing the cell, we will show our uh, moves, so which is going to be start coroutine and our update moves. So our update moves is just going to start a coroutine, which is going to be I numerator, and we'll call it update moves. And first we'll do is we return new, wait for seconds, and we'll wait for the animation delay. So let's create that inside our animation class. So public class and values, and here we'll create a public const float, and animation time is equals to 0.2f. We can use 0.1, but let's just use 0.2 or 0.25 for now. Let's go with 0.25f. So what we are going to do is after 0.25 seconds, so constants dot values dot animation time, we will show our circles. So for I is equals to 0, I less than cell data dot moves, we are going to show the circles. So circles, where did our circles go? Circles of I dot set active to true. So our update moves should update our moves. And after that, I less than circles. Maybe we'll need to reset it. Let's use circles dot count, and what we'll do, circles of I dot set active to I is less than current cell data dot moves. So it also deactivates which are higher, or else it will just set the active. So if we have three of them active, this function won't deactivate the third cell. So we'll go through all of them and also deactivate whatever we are not using. So it's just going to update the moves, and uh, after that we also need, yeah, we can do it afterwards. So now the next function we are going to need is for our square, and inside our square let's just delete everything first, and it's just going to be needing a reference to our current square, and let's code everything inside it first. So first we'll need a sprite renderer, and we'll just call it SR, and after that we'll have a private static vector3, and we'll call it start scale, and it's going to be v3.1 multiplied by 0.7f, and similarly our end scale is going to be v3.1, no multiplication, and in our animation we are just going to go from the start to the end scale, and in our awake we'll just set SR is equals to get component sprite renderer, and let's create our initialize square first. Initialize square, and here we are going to get our color value, and as you can see inside our cell we call the initialize square function, so it's going to initialize our square. And what we are going to do first we'll get the color, and it's going to be game manager dot colors, game manager dot instance dot colors, and we'll pass our color value. And after that we'll set our sprite renderer's color to be equal to color, and r dot sr dot sorting order to be constants dot value. And inside our values we are going to create two more floats to store our sorting order. So it's already 20 minutes. We should be able to finish it. So public const, just use an integer, and we'll call it front. So the one which the front is going to have a 5, and public const int back, let's have it at 1. So 5 is going to be at the front and 1 is going to be at the back, and we'll use our front. And after that, what we'll do is we'll start another routine, which is going to be a start animation. It just has one animation which just resizes our square. So public enumerator start animation, and inside our start animation we are not going to have any parameters, but first what we'll do is transform.local scale is going to be our start scale, and float our animation time, it's going to be constants dot values dot animation time. And after having our animation time we'll create a speed. So our speed is going to be our end scale minus start scale, and we'll divide it by our animation time. So the animation should be finished when in the amount of animation time, and let's set the end time to be 0f, and afterwards we'll check end time is less than our animation time. Will increase the end time by the time dot delta time amount, and transform dot local scale will increase it by speed multiplied by the time dot delta time amount. And at the end of it we also need to do yield return null, so it waits for 1 frame, and at the end of it we'll reset our scale to our end scale. So that should be it for our initialization. We also need one more function, but we'll create it afterwards, not end time and scale. So our cell is going to refer it here. There are no errors. Our game manager is going to instantiate our cells, and everything should be fine. So let's go inside Unity and fix all of the errors if they occur. So we need to first set the references for our cell, which is going to be first the second yz -5, and then we have a reference to add all of our circles. So there are going to be 4 circles, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that was for our circles. The squares, it won't need anything. Now next up, what we are going to need is for the game manager we have we'll need the colors. So for now we'll need all of the colors because it's getting our colors from here. So there's the yellow color. So the colors you can directly set up from the swatch which we have already created. So there's the blue, there's the dark blue, then our purple one, and finally our pink one. So let's see what errors happen. So we'll directly create it from the main menu. So our object loads and we are just going to load our first scene. So as you can see, it created our stage, but there's some problem with our row and the column. So it's currently at 0, 0, and the size is also not bad. So what we'll do is we'll first set the translation for our row, which is going to be inside game manager, and we forgot to set the camera dot main dot transform dot position, camera dot main dot transform dot translate, and where we are going to translate is in the x direction we'll translate by the number of rows by divide by 2, and in the y direction we are going to translate the number of columns divided by 2. So let's do that. Current level object dot row divided by 2f, and current level object dot call divided by 2f, and let's also pass a 0 so it doesn't look much worse. Now let's go inside Unity and we'll see how our objects are instantiated. So as you can see, it is inside the center. The size is almost also good enough. Now let's see if our size is the variable. So inside our stage 1, let's decrease the row size so we can see it. So now we have set it to 2 by 2. So let's go in the first scene. Uh, 2 and okay, we can't do it 2 by 2 because there's, let's do it 4 by 4 and then play, because there's an index with the right. So there's a 4 by 4 and there's a problem. Game manager dot current game state, the key 2 and 1 was not present in the dictionary. So I think there is a problem with our dictionary, and that also will need to fix. Now let's increase the cells in the row amount by 8 so we can see if it is fitting, if any of our values are different. So it didn't fit uh, inside our scene. Okay, so we were showing inside the canvas, and that is our scene. As you can see, our cell didn't fit. So let's try a different value. So if the row, then we need to have our size to be equal to row, not row divided by 2. But if it is our column, so these are going to be the number of rows. So let's just do row, and then we'll add 2.5f. So let's go inside Visual Studio, and there is a problem with our current game state, and yeah, there was also one more problem when color ing. So let's see where our problem was. Ing is equals to temp, and in I plus 0.5f. item dot grid pose initialize of cell item. Okay, so if our row is higher, then we need to set. So the number of elements in our row is higher, then we need to set it to number of row divided by 2. Or else, so let's go inside Unity and let's hit play, and let's now see if our number of rows are fixed. Again, it's showing different errors. I think we changed it already. So let's go inside current level object. The point is column is less than equal to. Ah, there is no problem. We forgot to change the size. So as you can see, that was the only problem. So our size was not getting changed. So camera dot main dot orthographic size is going to be equal to size. Camera dot main dot orthographic size is going to be equal to size. So that was the only problem. There were no errors. Now there is a problem with one more indexing of the scenes. So let's go inside Unity and let's see if our sizing error is fixed. So currently we have all of our 8 cell scenes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it's a little bit around half in the corner. So let's just directly use 3.5f, and inside our row we'll use 4.5f. Now let's try changing the values for our rows and columns. So let's hit play, and now it fits correctly. Let's increase its value to be equal to somewhat like 16, so we can see if our rows are spawned correctly. So let's go inside our first, and as you can see, it is currently looking as you can see it inside the screen, and there's a problem with our cells. So it is blurring out. So that is because our filter mode is set to bilinear. We need to set it to no filter. So maybe that was the problem. So let's hit play, and let's go inside our first scene. So again, there's nah, don't know. I think that's the problem with just my screen. It's not high clarity enough. And now our 2-1 value is cleared. So let's change our level stage back to 3.3. And the point is our grid position is at x1 and 2. So that is also a problem. So now it is fixed, and let's duplicate the stage 1. We'll rename this as stage 2, and here what we are just going to do is we'll set the number of moves to 2 and the grid position to 0 and 1. And now inside our levels we also need to select our second stage, and we'll see if we are able to uh, have our second stage. So let's go inside our second stage, object reference. Okay, we also need to change its name. Don't forget to change the key. It's a dictionary, so it will matter much. So now if we hit play and go inside our second, it's going to show our second scene. And again, we can restart the game and it's going to load it. So that was it for our spawning. So the null reference exception is for our spawn level. I don't know why did it happen. Let's first play it again. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. So let's hit play and go inside our first level. Hit restart, no problems. Let's go inside our second level. Hit restart, no problems. So it was maybe when we went inside our third row or the column. So that was it for this video, and in this video we spawned our cells and set its integer to, I mean, the cells dictionary. And in the next video we are going to have our game take the input, and depending on that input, for the first we'll check if our input is invalid, and after that we'll do a couple of more, and it should take a little bit of time, and after that see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.